I was just ordained a deacon, and this is in Rome. And my mom, my dad, and my sister, who's consecrated, we were driving to go to see the place where Padre Pio was buried and where his body is present. And so one of the great things about being in Rome and getting ordained there, you can basically pick any saint you want and go on a pilgrimage to that particular site. Literally every saint is in Italy. It's crazy. Even like St. Mark and St. Luke. I don't even know, did they ever even go to Italy? I don't think they even know what pasta is. But at any rate, so we were driving along this road, and it's about a 3-hour drive in the beautiful mountainsides outside of Rome, headed over towards the Adriatic Sea. And you have to, when you go to Italy and learn to drive, you can only drive stick shift. So it's just my mom and myself that knew how to drive stick. So my sister and my dad were in the back seat. And everybody had basically fallen asleep because I'm such a good driver. And I was going so fast that people just were like, it's better to sleep than to watch what's going on. And all of a sudden, this ambulance, if you've ever driven in Italy, one of the things you realize is that you could be going above the speed limit, but somebody would be going double what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's like you look in the rear view mirror and you thought you saw a car, and then you look to the left, the car's now passing you. So it's literally one of the fastest places you could drive. I've never driven on the Autobahn, but I imagine this place ranks up to that. At any rate, I'm driving in the slow lane, probably not going the speed limit, but well beyond it. And this ambulance comes flying by. And on the back of the ambulance, it says, Montepello. And I'm like, whoa. And so I nudged my mom. I said, Mom, I just heard that Montepello has the image of the face of Christ that St. Veronica wiped on Jesus' face. I have no idea where Montepello is, but maybe if we follow this ambulance, we'll get there. So if you know me, serendipity is my middle name. I love like adventures like this. And my mom, my dad, and my sister hate that stuff. So my mom and I are like, yeah, let's go. They're sleeping. Who cares? And so we start going behind this. And I had my dress as a priest, so I looked like I was official. Like I'm a part of the entourage of this ambulance going at 1 trillion miles an hour. So it was really fun. And as all of a sudden we get off, and lo and behold, we pull into this community, and it points like, as and then we left the ambulance, it went off to the hospital, and it's Il volto de Cristo, which means the face of Jesus. I'm like, wow, this is legit, because I'd heard about it, but I'd never really, knew that it was true. And then all these little signs, Il volto de Cristo, and then you get closer and closer, and there it is. This is the church that has the face of Jesus. And I'm like, man, all these years, like, you'd think this would be like more well known, but it's typical Italy stuff, And we get up there and we're like, wow, this is gonna be incredible. I'd heard about this and doing all that. And we get up there and the doors are locked to the church. Just typical Italy thing. Like il pranzo, the siesta, they take it seriously there. So it's like, I don't know. From 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, everything's locked down. So then we look around and find this amazing little place where they make homemade pasta, and we had a great lunch. But then we went back once it was open, and we got to see the face of Christ. And it's similar to like what's the tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe, or the Shroud of Turin. All of these scientific studies done on these 3 miraculous shrouds all say the same thing. It's like there's no technical human ability that we know of to like get these images on these special cloths. And so you look at this face of Jesus, and it is so incredible. The look, the face, just the way in which there's so much peace in it, but at the same time this courage, and at the same time the sorrow. It just captures almost every human emotion possible. And as you look at that, you think, could you imagine being one of the 12 apostles that got to look at that face for like 3 years? And that's who we contemplate in Simon and Jude. And you start to wonder, like, how Jesus, God's plan to save humanity, was first and foremost built on an apostolic church. In other words, that Jesus came to look into the eyes of these 12 men, and from there, the church's foundation would be built up on the capstone, which is Jesus Christ. And despite the fact that Simon and Jude did not make it up to Calvary, despite the fact that Peter denied Jesus, despite the fact that we could have bishops and popes throughout the centuries that would betray Jesus and do god-awful stuff, the face of Christ, the eyes of Christ, the divinity of God's salvific power still works through the apostolic succession, which is our church. And it is so easy to get caught up in the latest news, the latest scandals. I walk in this morning and somebody gives me this Forbes magazine article on the latest and greatest money scandals in the Vatican, which you can open up and find a new scandal on the church, bishops, and the Pope every day. But it doesn't take away from how God wants to establish his work of salvation through the Catholic Church based on the power of the sacramental life that Jesus Christ left us. And despite the humanity of these men and the corruption, there is still the holiness of Jesus' face that looks through the Eucharist, that looks through the eyes of Mary, that looks through the sacraments, that looks through the priest, that looks through the bishop, that looks through the Pope. And there's no doubt that our press can never capture that. And most of the news outlets that cover the church can never capture that. To look at the church as if it's just a political institution, like the Vatican being the White House, is not the way God looks at it. It's certainly not the way Jesus looks at it. And so today we have a challenge, all of us do, because we have been beaten down by our culture to look at the hierarchy as some king-queen fiefdom from the Middle Ages, and not as what Jesus went up to the mountain to pray for. To do something that I still find it to be preposterous, that he would entrust humanity with his divinity to be able to save the world. It all started obviously with Mary in the womb, and continues today through the blessings that we get through our church and through all of you to come to communion today and be able to take the look of Christ, the face of Christ, to wherever you drive. Just don't speed like I did.